Watching this video, then so you're going to East Asia, and whether it be to China, Korea or Japan, there are essential aspects and factors that you will need to understand. Firstly, when choosing to work in a foreign subsidiary, a negative culture phase will take place, and this is referred to as culture shock. Now, don't be alarmed. Culture shock is often brief and may not even be noticed. However, unfortunately for some people, they will have to deal with culture shock over several weeks and possibly months. This is why our business, Cultures, will provide you with the key concepts, signs, issues, and understandings of how to overcome the culture shock phase. So, culture shock is a feeling of disorientation, loneliness, insecurity, or confusion that can occur when someone leaves his or her home country to live in a new culture. And while it may be hard to pinpoint exactly when you are suffering from culture shock, some common signs include excessive drinking, avoidance, uncontrollable emotions, frequent thoughts about home country, hostility towards the host country, loneliness, and the perception of constantly being misunderstood. Okay, so now that we've identified signs of culture shock, it is important to know the stages of the cultural phase. It is important to know that culture shock phase cannot be rushed and will occur at its own pace. Essentially, a number of writers have identified that the culture shock adaptation model follows a U-shaped curve, this representing three main stages of culture shock. The first stage is often a positive feeling, which then curves to a negative and finally back to a positive, when adjustment is finally reached. Additionally, many writers break up culture shock adjustment into 4 stages. The first stage is the honeymoon phase. This is when you will be feeling excited, enticed, and interested in every aspect of the culture. This is generally when the honeymoon stage fades away, which often results in frustration, stress, anxiety, regret, sadness, and disorientation. The third stage is the recovery stage. This is when one has adapted to some of the culture as if it were their own and obtains greater self-awareness and no longer views the new culture as a threat. The fourth stage is the adjustment stage, which allows the individual to accept their new surroundings. But what you must understand is that each stage of culture shock must be experienced before recovery. This will help you grow as a person and become more knowledgeable on the new environment. Okay, so now that you know the stages of culture shock, what can you do to help reach the final stages of adjustment? Well, there are many things you can do to cope with culture shock. Firstly, and more importantly, you must understand that your reactions are very normal and are experienced by a lot of people who choose to live overseas. You may even find it beneficial by talking to the topic to others who have suffered from culture shock. It also helps to stay in touch with family and friends back home. But be careful, because by spending all your free time sending emails to them can often set back the recovery clock. You should also make friends with other people. Although it will be comforting to just have friends from your home country, try to make friends with others. It will enrich your expertise and experience. Physical exercise is also a great way to stop worrying, as it finds shops and restaurants that sell food you are used to at home. Archer also finds that the essential part to overcoming culture shock is by learning the host language, as individuals may often feel misunderstood and rejected within a culture. Now, once you begin to feel the stress of culture shock, ask yourself the following questions. Have you pinpointed the specific time when you felt different or comfortable? Define the situation. List the feelings in this situation. Listing the behaviors you expect from people in your own culture in the same situation. And reflect on the underlying value of your culture that prompts that behavior. This will stimulate your emotion and knowledge of the phase by analyzing the situation. Awesome. So now it's time for the quizzes.